So digital transformation was already underway prior to COVID-19 pandemic, but the resulting economic crisis has speeded up the process and forced businesses to become more resilient, flexible, and innovative. The pandemic has also reimagined the future of work. So we have with us today Piyush Singh. Piyush is the Senior Managing Director and lead for Accenture's India business. He is also responsible for the company's growth in APAC, Africa, Middle East, and Latin America. So Piyush will tell us how businesses can prepare for the next normal by building a truly resilient and agile organization. So over to you, Piyush, and a very warm welcome from CXO today.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here. It's strange times as we continue to operate from homes with these virtual backgrounds but at least comfortable spaces of our homes.
So a lot has changed, as you rightly said, in the last 1 year. And companies are expected to become more agile and resilient, as reports point out. A lot of Accenture reports have also emphasized on that. So I would like to understand from you, basically our viewers, what exactly do you mean by resilient and agile organization? Or rather, what are the trademarks of a resilient and agile organization?
Sure. Look, I mean, the times that we are in are very, very uncertain. I mean, they have been extremely uncertain over the past 12 months, and the levels of uncertainties remain. They remain because on the part of our consumers and customers, and a whole lot of their preferences and habits have changed, and some of them have changed irreversibly, some have changed temporarily. So there is uncertainty what the new consumer pattern is on one hand. Secondly, there is obviously uncertainty in the supply chain of the businesses, because the supply chains have been disrupted both internationally as well as domestically. Thirdly, your ways of working have been disrupted. So through this period, if you want to respond to your customers' fast changing preferences, permanent or otherwise, you have to be quite agile. You have to be quite nimble to be able to. You have to be nimble to adopt new models of supply chain. You have to be nimble to adopt new ways of working. So there has to be a whole level of nimbleness, but at the same time, you have to be quite resilient, because in these times of uncertainty, you may not have the same level of predictability of either revenue or your cost base. Right. So from that perspective, you have to have greater resilience and that's not just resilience in terms of financial resilience. There's also a whole lot of resilience in terms of human resilience. We are all, after all, running large corporations with a very large workforce, and that workforce has suffered. It has suffered, personally, due to it's suffered in its communities. So there is a whole lot of resilience required to ensure that we can help that workforce sail through these challenging times, right? And so I think there is resilience required in terms of making sure that the financial uncertainty as well as the consumer uncertainty can be dealt with. There's nimbleness required to respond to that, to evolve from that.
Wonderful. So can you mention the top 3 ways companies can build a truly resilient and agile organization, as we are talking about?
It's a difficult question because it's hard to simplify or codify something that profound into three ways.
You can obviously feel free to say more.
Nevertheless, to say, look, first of all, it's very important for organizations to be clear in their purpose. Mm-hmm. Right. So if you do not have clarity of purpose, you will not be able to get your workforce or your investors or your consumers to rally behind you as a brand. What is the purpose for which you exist? That clarity of purpose is very important, and you must build your entire reinvention story behind that purpose. The second part is we are today fortunate enough that there is a lot of underlying technological capability available to us that can help us, transform or reinvent our organizations at a rapid pace. There was, there is the ability of enormous amounts of computing capacity available through the availability of cloud. There is new digital application architectures that have come about that can make the experience that we can offer to our consumers, and the speed at which we can rewire those experiences, as well as scale those experiences, has been shortened, drastically. So I think that it is important to embrace that technological capability to reinvent the business. So that second part would be invest in reinventing your underlying technological infrastructure, to support the new business model that you've got, right? That's the second part. And the third part, of course, is, as you do so, revisit the way you are going to work together going forward, right? Because in the past, you have looked at it from a perspective of stealth. When the whole thing shut down, everybody said, look, we'll rally behind, and now it is a time to come out of that and revisit how will you do the new ways of working. And that new ways of working is not just in terms of people, but in terms of parts, machinery, manufacturing. So how can you come into a world of digital collaboration, but also in the world of digital supply chain, digital manufacturing, right? So that when you are reinventing yourself, you reinvent yourself in a way that in future you are far more resilient to disruptions. So 3, clarity of purpose, upgrade of technological infrastructure, and the third is, go into new ways of working, but not restricted to the new ways of working for people, but for plant machinery as well.
Absolutely. So, talking about technological capabilities, how do you think technologies such as AI and blockchain can help in the process of creating a resilient, agile enterprise?
At the heart of, the AI and blockchain, let's put them into slightly different buckets, first of all, right? They're both enormously disruptive technologies that have great value to offer. When it comes to AI, a number of times the world confuses AI for a lot of mystique. It's sci-fi, science fiction. That's not reality. AI is nothing but smart usage of enormous amounts of digital data that is being provided to us by our consumers, and us generating new insights from that and making sure that our businesses consume that insights digitally. Right? Now, what can this do? It can help us understand our customers better. It can help us provide much greater personalized experiences to our customer. It can help us streamline our cost base and our cost of serve to those customers in a much by a drastic amount. So it can help us plan our future investment and capital allocations much better. So AI is definitely one of the biggest optimization as well as customer enhancement capability that is at our disposal, right? The bedrock of AI remains data, right? So we must start by building a sound data infrastructure and build artificial intelligence capabilities on top of that. So that's on AI. Blockchain is still in its nascent stages, right? It has a huge potential to disrupt, hearts of business models, banking, natural resources, infrastructure, all of that, right? Its applicability is still in its nascent stages. As one of the applications that is in a lot of press nowadays is cryptocurrency, which is also in its nascent stage, right? But I do see that it will evolve in times to come. In its evolution, it will provide greater efficiency in businesses. It will provide greater authenticity of and enhancement of supply chain in the process. So I think it has got huge implications in times to come. I would hesitate to hazard a guess in terms of the speed, because a number of times I'm asked, how quickly do you think the adoption will happen? That's something that I will not hazard a guess on, because it's a blockchain works, as you can imagine, by the implied word chain, about by the adoptability of the whole chain, which is a very large circle, and therefore, that is driven by, all parts of the chain being finding that particular blockchain acceptable, the regulator having its acceptability. So those are impediments or unknowns that will then decide what is the speed of adoption of blockchain in the future.
Thank you for that, Piyush. I just want to understand that with increasing digital adoption that we talk about, cybersecurity threats and data breaches, we are already aware, are on the rise. So, if you can give some expert opinion on how companies should approach cybersecurity and data privacy, what should they know?
Every opportunity comes with great responsibility. Yeah.
Absolutely.
In the world where digital is giving us a huge opportunity to reach out to new sets of customers, to be able to deliver the services to them at much lower cost and much greater efficiency, it is an absolute responsibility of every organization to protect the consumer's data, right? And in order to do so, they will have to do, potentially look at it in a three-tiered way. First and foremost, be very clear about their policy and their policy framework and their purpose. That the whole organization must understand that protection of personal data is now one of the primary responsibilities, because a lot more of my personal data is being shared by consumers with organizations. So that responsibility has to be understood by the rank and file and not by a standalone security department somewhere. Number two is again, look, yesterday's model, you build yourself an organization, you build a wall around that organization, and you put a security to make sure nobody can come inside. Today's model, you cannot operate. You must have lots of people, lots of data coming in, lots of data leaving. So the technological capability of managing this security infrastructure has to be enhanced multifold, right? And therefore, number one, your direct investment into security will have to go up. Secondly, the organizations must adopt new capabilities like cloud, like digitally native applications, because they do bring with themselves much greater innovation and investment in security. And because they are operating at a much larger scale, they can spread that investment over a larger scale to bring to organizations economies of scale on that investment. So leverage the right technology infrastructure, invest more in technology infrastructure. Number three is process. A great proportion of security breaches happen because of operational process lapses, right?
Absolutely.
So you must make sure that you are investing, don't design and write process, have a proactive investment, monitoring, training, upgrading mechanism to make sure that you have got your operational processes and operational controls up and running all the time. So yeah, first understand and make sure that your organization understands that it is its primary purpose to protect consumers' secure personal and other data. Number two, upgrade your technology infrastructure, leverage technologies such as cloud and digitally native applications. Number three, make sure your operational processes are in place and you are investing to proactively upgrade them all the time.
Thank you, Piyush. Um, what are your views on the future of work? Do you foresee a hybrid work model in the post-pandemic era?
Yeah, look, I do, of course, foresee a hybrid model, but I do think that the hybrid model is a given. The question is, how do organizations leverage that model for for extracting most value out of it?
Yeah, I would have come to that, but yeah, you can please continue with the.
If your mindset as an organization is that hybrid model is equal to home working, you are wasting that opportunity. if your mindset is that hybrid model is about making sure that you can work from where you want to work from or where you can work from, right, and yet be digitally connected to the workforce, what then you do as an organization is, first of all, you enhance your reach of get sourcing capability to a level that you never had. You were earlier restricted to a geographic proximity of your office or your machine plant or your to for capability. You can now enhance that, to get capability from where it exists and where it wants to operate from. And secondly, you increase the productivity of the workforce multifold. But to enable that, you must invest in new ways of working. I can't say that I've got a particular set of people who are operating from a location where I don't operate in, but I don't give them a full digital access to be functional. Now, that is not a capability of having a Zoom meeting. A digital collaboration platform and full digital access to your infrastructure is different from having a virtual meeting. So I do think if those organizations that invest in new ways of working, invest in digital collaboration, invest in enabling manufacturing, and manufacturing controls into a digital model, will be able to access capabilities that they never had access to and enhance productivity of their workforce many times. Those who slip this into an efficiency of office space, narrow focus of only efficiency of office space or home working, will never not be able to extract enough value out of this opportunity.
Wonderful. Thank you, Piyush. As we come towards the end of our conversation, I would like to, take your advice, for the CXOs. What should the CXOs need to know to sum up, to emerge as a winner in the post-pandemic world?
Look, I will. Today's CXO is in a very challenging situation, right? It's a very, it's a very dynamic situation out there, unprecedented situation out there. So I do not envy any CXO's position in the world today. But if I was going to offer advice, I would say I would go back to some of the things that I've already said. First of all, I'd say manage. This is not something I said here, but I've said elsewhere. Manage the paradox. Paradox because today, on one hand, because of the uncertainties of the market, you will have a pressure to conserve capital. But on the other hand, because we all know that our consumers' preferences have changed irreversibly, we need to reinvent our business, which will only happen if we actively and proactively invest capital in that reinvention. So manage that paradox. Make sure that you've got a clear reinvention strategy that is proactively deploying capital, but at the same time convincing your stakeholders of your story of capital investment, so that you don't lose them. So that's the paradox that's the first thing I would say that you have to manage, right? The second is, as I said, the investment story is all about reinvention. Okay, and the reinvention is not just, it is reinvention of your business models, and that business model reinvention is underpinned by technology. So make sure that you're adopting new technology capabilities that are available to you in order to push for that reinvention, right? To make, but do have a very clear reinvention agenda for your business. Number three is make sure that you have a clear, trusted relationship with your colleagues, with your workforce. Let's make no two bones about it. The workforce has gone through a whole lot of distress. The workforce has gone through a whole lot of disengagement. You're not meeting together anymore. We are a race that believes in touch and feel, right? As a human race. So there's a disengagement. So I go back to the point I said to you earlier. Re-emphasize the purpose of your existence, right? Make sure that the purpose of existence is very clear as to what value you're providing to your consumer, and get your workforce to re-engage with you along that purpose, and make sure that they understand that you trust them in that reinvention that I mentioned earlier, and that you've got them in their journey. So to summarize, manage the paradox, reinvent in line with the irreversibly changing customer need. Make sure you have a clarity of purpose that you use to re-engage your workforce.
Anything else you want our viewers, the CXOs, to understand, or anything else you would like to talk about, which we have missed in the course of the conversation?
As I said, I don't envy the CXO community, the way through the dynamic changes and the dynamic situation that they're having to live through. So in such situations, that I would always say, please collaborate, please reach out to each other, and ensure that you are creating your own networks, your own ecosystem, through which you are being able to learn about how to deal with the situations and ever new situations that are coming up. Right? Let's face it, no one single person has gone through all of these situations ever in their life before. So, it was ever a time that has shown to us that we know much less about handling businesses. It is now. So, yeah, I mean, my advice would be accept that folly, reach out, collaborate, to make sure that, you are not alone in this race.
Thank you, Piyush. That was a very insightful conversation we had. And thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for your time. You have a good day.
Have a good day.